The T250 threw 6 service codes at once. 6. The fix was one ground strap wearing a green crust. That's not shop folklore. The factory manual says multiple codes and abnormal symptoms can come from a bad ground. So we're going cheapest fix to worst case, using only what the T250 service manual actually prints. Start with where the machine talks. The service code shows up on the left instrument panel. It lands in the hour meter and code display, the same little window that counts your hours. If more than one code is active, they scroll. You watch them cycle through, one after another. Write down every single one. Don't chase the first number and ignore the 4 behind it, because the pile is the clue, and the manual's first suspect for a pile is almost free. It says it plainly: multiple service codes and abnormal symptoms can be caused by corroded or loose grounds. Different systems, different code numbers, all tracing back to one tired connection between a circuit and the frame. Think of the phone charger that only charges at one exact angle. Same failure, much heavier cable. Current has to get back home. If the return path is crusty, everything on that circuit reads wrong. The controller can't tell it's a ground, it only knows a voltage that should be steady isn't. So it reports what it sees, honestly, in 6 places at once. All 6 of them are symptoms. Clean the grounds to bare metal, tighten them, and watch how many codes simply stop coming back. A wire brush in 10 minutes against a dealer call. That's the cheapest fix on this whole list. And here's where it flips. The second cheapest thing on the list isn't the part either. It's connectors. The manual has you check that connectors on the Bobcat controller are locked into place. Locked. Not resting there. A plug that's 90% home looks perfect from 3 feet away. Then check the pins inside those connectors for pins pushed back into the housing, or bent sideways. A pushback pin is the cruelest fault theirs. The connector clicks. The circuit never actually touches. It works cold, drops out when the machine warms and flexes, and clears itself before the tech arrives. Same story at the fuse block. The manual has you check for loose spade connectors in the fuse holder. And check the fuse block for correct orientation. That's a detail the manual calls out on purpose. If that just moved your first hour of diagnosis from the parts counter to a wire brush, that's this channel. Stick around. Machine-specific diagnostics pulled straight out of the factory manuals every single day. Now the codes themselves, and the biggest family on a T250 starts with 32. Those are the ACS codes, the control system quietly watching your lift and tilt functions. How that system checks itself changes, how you should read the number sitting on your panel. It checks the lift handle sensor, then the lift actuator, then the tilt handle sensor and tilt actuator. It stops at the first problem it finds, eliminates the icon, and records that condition as a service code. Stops. So a second fault hiding behind the first one stays invisible until the first one is fixed, which means clearing 132 code and getting a different one isn't failure. That's actual progress. Start at the cheap end of that family. 3223 is ACS not calibrated. That's not a broken part. That's a procedure the machine is standing there waiting on. Then the neutral group. 3234 is tilt actuator, not a neutral. 3239 is lift actuator, not a neutral. And the operator side, 3235, tilt handle or pedal, not a neutral. 3240, lift handle or pedal, not a neutral. Those 4 are the machine saying something isn't resting where it expects to find it. That's worth a real look at linkage, pedal return, and handle position before you buy anything at all. Next tier up is wiring, and notice the manual keeps wiring and hardware as separate distinct codes. 3232 is tilt actuator wiring fault. 3231 is tilt actuator fault. Different words, very different invoices. Same split on the lift side. 3237 is lift actuator wiring fault. 3236 is lift actuator fault. The handles get their own too. 3233, tilt handle wiring fault. 3238, lift handle wiring fault. So the code already tells you whether to suspect the harness or the thing on the end of it. Then come the shorts. This is where the repair bill starts climbing for real. 3249 is lift actuator short to ground. 3250 is tilt actuator short to ground. 3251 is lift actuator short to battery. 3252 is tilt actuator short to battery. Handles and pedals mirror it. 3253 and 3254 short to ground. 3255 and 3256 short to battery. Short to ground and short to battery are 2 different failures, and the code separates them for you. That's real information. You know which way the circuit is leaking before you open a single loom. Now the 2 codes people ignore longest, because the machine still works when they show up. 3257 is lift actuator reduced performance. 3258 is tilt actuator reduced performance. Still moving. Not right. Reduced performance gets brushed off for a month because nothing dramatic ever happens on day one. And then the two that should end the shift right there, 3259 and 3260. Lift actuator wrong direction, tilt actuator wrong direction. The machine is reporting motion it never commanded. That's a park it code, not a finish the load code. A lift arm going the wrong way isn't a nuisance. One more out of that family, and it loops right back around to where we started. 3241, no communication, nothing is talking. And what kills communication cheapest? Grounds and connectors. The scariest line on the whole panel, and the first thing you check costs nothing but time. Off the ACS now. Fuel gets 3 codes, and the difference between them matters more than you'd think. 99 is fuel level low. That one's honest, the tank really is getting empty. But 921 is fuel level out of range, high, and 922 is fuel level out of range, low. Out of range isn't a fuel problem. It's a reading the controller says can't possibly be real. A gauge insisting the tank is overfull is describing a sender circuit. It isn't describing diesel. Then the solenoid codes. 23.2 and 23 are rear base solenoid error, on and off. 24.2 and 24.3 are rear rod solenoid error, on and off. 37.2 and 37.3, two-speed secondary error. Now don't build a rule out of those pairs. Code systems change between machines and generations. This manual lists every code by name. Read the table, never decode a number from a pattern. Electrical faults reward the boring fixes. Take a parking brake that flat refuses to release. The manual says check the dash display for an error code, then check the brake 30-amp fuse, and while you're in there, check the other fuses too. That's the instruction, not extra thoroughness. The brake solenoid coil should be about 9.8 ohms. The solenoid wiring should read 12 volts. 2-meter readings decide whether you're buying a solenoid or torquing a mounting nut back down. Worst case lives in the hydraulics. The manual lists main relief at 33,300 psi, 22,753 kPa. And you test it warm, fluid brought to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 Celsius before any reading counts. It warns not to exceed 3,300 psi and says this work belongs to authorized Bobcat service personnel, because adjustments there can cause injury or death. That's the manual's own language, and that's their stop line. So the order is grounds, connectors, fuses, and spade terminals, calibration and neutrals, then wiring, then shorts. Then the actuator itself, and only then the hydraulic side, and hand the dealer every code that's scrolled. The exact specs are in the service manual linked below. Like this, if it saved you a guess. Subscribe for daily diagnostics. Next up, the T250 hydraulic pressure test, run to the manual's own numbers.